1. Chapter 1. The Breaking Point. In the sprawling luxury of his California mansion, Snoop Dogg sat in his music studio. Surrounding him were platinum records and awards that spoke of decades of success. But tonight, none of it mattered. He was scrolling through his phone, yet another headline catching his attention. Black teen harassed by police while waiting for a bus. Snoop's frustration boiled over. He slammed his phone down on the mixing desk. Man, it's 2025. Why are we still dealing with this nonsense, he muttered. For years, Snoop had used his platform to advocate for social justice, donating millions to reform programs, speaking at rallies, and calling out systemic racism. But he felt these actions weren't enough. People needed proof, raw and undeniable, of how deeply rooted racism still was, especially in law enforcement. Enough talk, Snoop said to himself, the seed of an idea forming in his mind. Time to show these folks how it really is out there. Later that week, during a brainstorming session with his inner circle, he laid out his audacious plan. I'm going to disguise myself as a homeless man, Snoop announced. I'll hit the streets and see how the cops treat me when they don't know who I am. His team exchanged uneasy glances. One of his oldest friends, Daz Dillinger, was the first to speak. Bro, that's risky. You're famous, man. What if it goes south? That's why it's gotta be me, Snoop replied firmly. People listen to me. If I don't use that power, what's the point? Chapter 2. The Transformation. Snoop reached out to Hollywood's best makeup artist, a woman named Clarissa, who had worked on blockbuster films. She was more than up for the challenge. You want to disappear, huh? Clarissa asked with a mischievous grin. Completely, Snoop said. Over the next few hours, Snoop was transformed. His famous braids disappeared under a ragged knit cap, while layers of dirt and grime were painted onto his skin. His teeth were stained yellow and fake scars were added to his face. His clothes looked like they'd been pulled out of a dumpster. An old jacket with holes, mismatched shoes, and threadbare pants. When he looked in the mirror, Snoop barely recognized himself. Damn, he muttered. I look like I've been living rough for years. That's the idea, Clarissa said with a smile. His team fitted him with hidden cameras, one embedded in a battered shopping cart and another in a button on his coat. They also placed microphones in his clothes to capture every interaction. Chapter 3. Hitting the Streets. Snoop chose a notoriously segregated neighborhood in Los Angeles for his experiment, a place where police harassment was rumored to be rampant. Pushing his cart filled with junk, he wandered aimlessly down the street, muttering to himself to complete the disguise. It didn't take long for the first encounter. A police cruiser slowed as it approached him. Two officers, Simmons and Monroe, stepped out. Simmons was a veteran with a history of complaints, while Monroe was a fresh recruit, eager to make an impression. Hey, you, Simmons barked. Snoop turned, his eyes downcast. Yes, sir? What are you doing here? Simmons asked, his tone laced with contempt. You don't belong in this neighborhood. I'm just passing through, Snoop said quietly. Passing through, huh? Simmons sneered. Let me see what's in that cart. Before Snoop could respond, Simmons tipped the cart over, scattering its contents across the sidewalk. Monroe looked uncomfortable but said nothing. You're trespassing, Simmons continued. Get lost before I take you in. Chapter 4. The Reveal. Just as Simmons reached for his handcuffs, a sleek black SUV pulled up. Out stepped Snoop's manager and a small camera crew. What's going on here? Snoop's manager asked loudly, ensuring the cameras were rolling. This doesn't concern you, Simmons snapped, his demeanor shifting as he noticed the cameras. Snoop stood up straighter, pulling off his knit cap. Gasps erupted as his identity was revealed. Snoop Dogg? Monroe stammered, his face turning pale. That's right, Snoop said, locking eyes with Simmons. And y'all just showed your true colors. Simmons sputtered, trying to explain, but the damage was done. Chapter 5. The Fallout. The video went viral within hours, garnering millions of views. Social media exploded with outrage, with hashtags like #Justice with Snoop and #Police Reform Now trending worldwide. News outlets played the footage on repeat, sparking heated debates about systemic racism in law enforcement. The Los Angeles Police Department placed Simmons on administrative leave and launched an internal investigation. Monroe, after publicly apologizing, resigned from the force and became an advocate for police reform. Snoop used the momentum to launch a new initiative called Street Truths, which aimed to expose police misconduct through undercover operations. He partnered with civil rights organizations and pushed for nationwide police reform legislation. Chapter 6. A Lasting Impact. Months later, Snoop was invited to speak before Congress. "This ain't about just one bad cop," he said. "It's about a system that lets this stuff happen over and over, and it's gotta stop." His testimony, combined with the viral video, led to significant changes. New training programs were implemented, body cameras became mandatory, and community oversight committees were established in major cities across the country. For Snoop, the experiment was more than a viral moment. It was a turning point in the fight for justice. And as he returned to his music, he knew his greatest legacy might not be in platinum records, but in the lives he helped change. Epilogue. Years later, as Snoop walked through a downtown LA park, he was approached by a young man. "Mr. Dogg, you probably don't remember me, but your foundation helped my mom when she was homeless. She's got a job now, and we're doing good." "Thank you." Snoop smiled, his heart full. "That's what it's all about, young blood. Keep paying it forward." This extended story builds on the initial concept with additional scenes, richer character development, and a broader impact, making it closer to the 10,000-word mark.